bubble up, and there, place it firmly into position, half an inch from the top on your first lines, and once you've done that, you should follow the rest of the lines down to the end of the There we go. Turn it over and make sure that there's no bubbles on the surface. This is pretty good paper, this, that Wendy brought in. It's you can place the book in to do this. I usually put my hand underneath just to support it. I don't press it too hard, and just to ensure that all the bubbles have gone. And then the next thing we do to ease it is to do a little bit of cutting while we're waiting. So put your ruler on, straight edge like so, and then go cut up to the edge of the box, like so, and the same on the other side. Up to the edge of the box, and that will leave enough for it to slide into, like so. So that will give you the dimension for the inside of the box, which I said would be half an inch, which it is. And then what we can do also while we've done that is go along to the edge of the box again and do another little cut. When I first saw this I found it mystifying, but once you've done it a couple of times, it's second nature. It's quite easy. It looks mystifying when you first do it, but it's not all that difficult once you've done it a couple of times. Cut down to the edge of the box, and that will give you the dimensions for the next piece, like so, for the size of the box. Put them safely out the way, and then what we can do now is glue up the spine of the box, or the back of the box, whichever you prefer, like so. Turn it over, lie it flat, and you'll see it goes exactly up to the dimensions that you drew initially. Pull those edges in so that you can turn the box over, just to press that bit flat. This is very nice paper to work with, this, I must admit. It's a pleasure to work with this paper. And press the top in, and this paper is going in quite nicely. And then what we do, the next thing we do is to cut another little joint. It's all to do with cuts now. And there, I hope you can see this. I tend to forget the camera's on. and another little cut at the side here. And then I'll move these out of the way so as you can see what's happening. I don't need them at the moment. Just move them out of the way so as you can see. And then what we can do now is to glue up the back. Okay, lie the book down, and it should go up to your last position of your last cut or your last marking with a pencil, and there we have it. Turn the book over, or the box over, I will say the book, and then show that it's flat. Try not to get any glue on this paper because it will show. And then if you remember that 1/2 inch piece of card that I had, which I cut off, you can measure 1/2 inch if you want, but I know this is the same length as that because that's what I used to do the first bit. Go along, put it on the back end there, and the last piece with the longest edge on, and cut it off. Making sure you've got your fingers out of the way. I have sliced through my fingers once or twice doing this and not taking notice, so it's possible to damage yourself. And my open knife's getting a little bit blunt. Yeah, I need to change my upper blades. And then we do the same on the fronts. Just move these out of the way. Mark up the ends and cut down. On the other end and cut down, and there we are. And I'll stop there for the minute while it all dries in properly, and I'll come back to you. Oh, well, I've got the box in this condition or position, and it's not dry yet properly, but it's drying out, and I've folded the edges up and left one side flat. While I'm waiting, I just thought I'd do a couple of pointers. It might interest somebody. If the box is sort of twisted out of shape like this at the bottom or the top, and an irregular angle so that this end is now pointing down there, it means you haven't done your measuring correctly. And if you've gone by my rules, you'll find that the measuring is accurate. I mean, there's no way that you can't measure up properly. And the other one is that if the bookcase is pressed in like that, squeezed in like this, it means you haven't lined it, because this surface here will tend to pull this into a bowl. Remember, I keep going on the bowl. This will pull this out and push that in, so you've got a box that looks like that, and it'll be hard to get the book in and out of. And I even tend to put a little bit of card inside, and while it's drying I usually do that with it, just to keep it in an open position while it's drying, even though I know it's going to behave, but it tends to stay out better. The book should just drop in and out, but I've got a couple of books here to show you other errors. That book is way too far in. That's ridiculous, and it's too small as well, but it's way too far in. And this one is too far out. You can see the way it is. Now, I've deliberated on mine, the one I'm doing. I told you why I've left mine open, so that Dorothy can get her hands on it. But normally you should be able to turn the book over and it should drop out like this anyway. You should be able to drop it out just like that. It should be able to drop out. But that one is far too long. So that's a couple of little pointers just before we cut up. And I'll just pop them out the way. Don't know if it's of any interest to anybody, but it's just to tell you what is going on with your bookcase, your slipcase while it's happening. And what I'm going to do now is, remember that piece of card that I had that was half an inch long? Well, if you lie the book down, not the book, the box, and you fold the pieces up on the top end so that they're out of the way, I've folded them up so you can see, you'll see that there are some overhanging pieces. You only do this on one side. So you place your little piece of card on, tuck it into the side of the book, and you cut off the excess. I've just changed my little knife, so this should be reasonably well. That's it. And the little bottom bit as well. I'll move that out of the way so as you can see. This is why you allow it to dry, so as you can handle it. And then you cut that little bit off. It does look complicated when you're doing this. I mean, but yeah, put the end down again. So we're only doing it on one side. Line it up, carefully cut off without cutting your fingers. Take the ends off. And the little bit at the end, take that around like so. Right. And now you should have all the sides cut to with half an inch on one side, but not on the other, because this is going to be the side of the box. You can see where it comes up to make the side of the box, and that bit is going to fold over, and we're going to put a nice couple of V markers in there. This is why I use my Alpha knife. And there's a couple of bits we're going to take off, but don't take the end bits off, because they're the bits that are going to go over the end of the box and go in like so at each end, and these bits are going to fold up to make the base of the box. So you maybe have to go over this a couple of times to get the cuts properly, but it sounds a lot, it looks a lot, but it's not really. It's not overly complicated. And what we can do now is You can roll them in if you want to exercise them to make sure that they're going to go in, but this is pretty good paper. I call it, well, I think they call it foaming. Trisha Morris calls it foaming.